Why don't we get started? I'll call this meeting to order. The Polk County Board of Commissioners. Today is April 25th. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Are there any comments for items not on this agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of April 18th?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next up, we're very privileged to have with us our assessor. Please come forward, Val. And
she has no scooter, no nothing.
did you hurt yourself?
What was that?
Did you hurt yourself?
I had surgery on my foot.
Well, no.
It was planned. Yeah, I scheduled it because January is my least busy time of the year. And so that's when I scheduled it to be done. Yeah, so I was on a scooter for about 2 months. Just started walking, feels great.
We healed up just in time to be able to be in the bucket of a high lift.
Yeah, no. Don't catch me in that one.
Just like the Anna, I never once saw any memos from HR saying you have to watch your speed on a scooter in the hallway. So you did a great job. Keeping us
Yep,
safe.
yep. Well, I can go faster on the scooter than I can walking. So that was awesome. That was the best part, but I'm glad to be walking and in shoes. So, all right. Well, thank you for having me today. I thought I would just start with a general overview of the property tax, where we're at for this year. And I'm getting old. I can see up close, but I can't see far away. So first of all, we've got about 39,000 taxable and non-taxable accounts. Our market value for 2022 was over 15.6 billion of taxable property. That's a 22% growth from 21. Our 2022 assessed value was 7.4 billion, and that's a 4.7 growth from 2021. And total taxes and fees levied was 116.4 million, which is 4.7 growth from 2021. I estimate for 23 the assessed value to grow 4.5%. Any questions? Okay. So wanted to talk a little bit about BOPTA this year. Prior to BOPTA, we do a process, what we call a request for review. When the tax statements are mailed, we recommend, if you question your property values, to give us a call, and we do an informal review process first. We, that number has been really low lately. We just don't get a lot of calls. We had 20 official requests for review this year. And we only had one BOPTA appeal, and the one BOPTA appeal didn't even call for a review to mitigate beforehand. In fact, they weren't super responsive. It was appealed by a tax rep, and not quite sure what happened, but they were out of the Midwest and they were all working remotely. And so the communication was spotty. It's like they didn't get our request to stipulate and till the very end. And so it did, like the day before BOPTA, we got a signed stipulation. So it was a commercial appeal, and we were high. We recognized that, and we agreed to a reduction. We had one supervisory review to the state, and it was denied ultimately because they really didn't have any standing. It was an heir that was appealing back taxes and interest, and the statutes don't allow for any relief in that scenario. And so Department of Revenue denied it. Moving on to our office staff, we've had some changes in this past year. In cartography, our lead cartographer, Donna, retired at the end of January, making her last day the end of February. It was a little unexpected, And, but we quickly switched gears and promoted Christy to our lead cartographer position. She's more than capable. She's been with us for 5 years. She is incredibly smart and will do an awesome job for the county with our cartography work. We then flew the job and we decided to deviate a little bit and decided to hire an additional cartographer in addition to promoting an existing employee who has expressed interest multiple times over the years about learning cartography. So I felt like it was a win-win to really support our cartography department to make sure we had succession and we had enough people trained to do the job. So we're in the process now of training Amy, and our new hire starts Monday on May 1st. In our records section, we had 2 new hires this past year, and that was due to a promotion from our personal property tech to an appraiser position, which left that position vacant. So we hired Kelly, and she came from title company, and she's picked up the program so quickly. In fact, she was able to even provide feedback on a new program, the online business property filing system that we implemented this year. She was able to provide feedback on it. She dug in and learned the program, and she's doing a phenomenal job. Very happy with what she's doing for us. And Beth is our additional front office help, and she's learning the farm forest program. She's helping me offload some of my responsibilities, which is much needed, and doing a great job, and has fit in very well. Both of them have. This last year, well, it's been over a year now, we promoted Eric to be our data analyst and commercial appraiser. He's done a phenomenal job for us. This year, the Department of Revenue implemented a meeting before the ratio study. And in that meeting, they had 0 questions for us. He's done such an awesome job, and historically, Polk County has done a great job on our ratio study that we pretty much sailed through with flying colors, just very small questions if asked any. And so they really didn't have any questions for us or concerns in beginning that ratio study, and just really just wanted to open the lines of communication and make sure, answer any questions that we had, or and they're doing it with all the counties. So that was a really big win for us. I felt that it's just a reflection of the quality of staff that we have doing the work that we're doing, and they're just doing a phenomenal job. Eric reappraised storage units last year. Because of the change in employees and staffing, we really haven't had an opportunity to really dig into commercial work. And so this last year was a big win. He reappraised the storage units, and this summer he is going to be reappraising Dallas. All right, so moving on to urban renewal districts. As you know, Dallas finalized their new urban renewal district, and I've started the work to process the new district. It takes time. There's a whole bunch of code changes involved, creating and changing the tax accounts that are involved. And then once we roll forward, there's more work to do in the computer system, and setting it up. So it's a big project when they create these new urban renewal districts. Monmouth annexed 2 properties into their existing urban renewal district, but they didn't get it approved until after January 1st. So it won't take effect till the next tax year. Enterprise zones, we have the existing enterprise zone participants is Ram Steel and West Salem Machinery. They're in West Salem, and they operate pretty much on the same property. They are both participating in the enterprise zone. We also have Fred Tebb and Sons out of Dallas. They are going through some change. I'm not quite sure what's going on with them. They they've sold some of their assets and are in the process of possibly closing in Dallas. I'm still waiting to hear back from them. They didn't file their enterprise zone paperwork that was due. And I've reached out to them asking for some answers, and am still waiting a response. This year, we have a new enterprise zone applicant, Ascentic Engineering. This is year 1. They're in the old Tyco building. And so this is their first year. Open Road has an application, but they've just started their new building after the first of the year. So next year they will be their first year of exemption on the new structure.
I ask a couple of questions here.
Yes, please.
So, first of all, I'm curious about Ram Steel. How long have they been in enterprise zone? Do you have any memory of that?
It has a long time. It's probably a continual applications. I have to look to see when their first one was, but it's a pretty thick file. And they've been, actually West Salem Machinery, West Salem Machinery has been in existence for a long time. Ram Steel, I believe their first application is just recently.
That's a subsidiary of West Salem Machinery.
Right, but was there some new operation that stood up there? I know I've known Ram Steel for
Well, they
40
bought
years.
some new equipment and did some expansion. Yeah.
So then, do you have a sense of what the value in these new enterprise zones? Again, I'm asking this for the record so people can understand, well, what's an enterprise zone and why? You know, what are these folks getting out of an enterprise zone? So can you reflect with at least round numbers on these new enterprise zone applications?
I would need to look it up.
I know you're
I
not
don't-
prepared for it, so.
Yeah. I'd be happy to report back to you on what those.
Again, I'm
are.
doing this for the record because again, if people are paying attention to this and they're following along, they may not know what enterprise zones are and the diversity of what they can provide. So if you at least give a quick little snapshot of enterprise zone,
Sure.
what they mean.
So an enterprise zone is, they have a zone manager and they make an application and they have to meet some requirements to fulfill the application requirements. They have to have meet the employment. They have to increase employment over a certain period of time. I think if they're one employee or 10% during the life of the exemption. They can either have a 3 or a 5 year, and I think there's a few different requirements for a 5-year exemption than there are for a 3. With reporting, I think it's more with the reporting part. And it's industrial properties, so it's a lot of it is machinery and equipment and their structures, and they can get it exempt, which means they don't pay taxes on it for 3 years or 5 years, depending. And it's to incentivize businesses and promote growth. And then it does come on the tax roll at the end of the exemption at the current market value. If they happen to close during their exemption, there is a disqualification piece, which did happen to a couple of businesses. Namely, Mac Metals had a disqualification, ATI and West Salem had a disqualification a couple years ago when they closed. And so there is some incentive to keep it going so they don't have to pay that back tax. But it's to promote growth, promote employment, and in the end, everybody wins because then it comes on the tax roll.
So for clarity, an enterprise zone exemption can apply to capital construction,
Yes.
correct? Or separately to investments in capital purchases, such as equipment. And they're typically 3 to 5, depending on the application, and they do terminate
Yes.
at the end of that term. And so back to the West Salem Machinery example, they've been in it a long time,
Yes.
but they continue to apply because they continue to expand, add in new technology into their facilities so
Yeah.
that they can be incentivized with this. And again, each time they have to meet the goals of the enterprise zone, which is intended to improve the wages, improve the hiring, provide more jobs and so forth. So I just want to make certain that we plug those pieces in so people can understand why we as county government operate and help make these functions of enterprise zones work so that we can promote business.
Yes, you said it very well.
Thank you. I want to get that plugged in because we never talk about it on the record. And so I know a lot of people will have questions, generally about, well, why is the government giving away our taxes?
Right. And, West Salem Machinery has participated for many years. And as long as they keep meeting the requirements, they can continue to make application. There isn't a limit on how many they can do. They just have to meet the requirements. And as long as they fulfill that, they can keep applying and have new exemptions with new limits.
Are there minimum investment requirements to keep the exemption going or?
I believe there is. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. Yeah. Yeah, and business personal property also qualifies. Not all personal property qualifies, like it can't, forklifts don't, like rolling stock doesn't qualify. But a lot of it does, so. Any other questions? We have signed with a company called Woolpert Mobile Assessor. It's an upgrade for our appraisers to assist them in their appraisals in the field. I talked about it last year because we had recently signed a contract with them. However, they are still working on adapting their software to the Helion suite. And Deschutes County is their first county with the Helion products, and they've ran into a bunch of issues, and they're still working on it. So I had hoped to report that we were using it this past year, but we're not. We're still waiting. The latest word is that Deschutes County should have a test environment May 1st, and then get them up and running for a couple months, and then they'll start converting the rest of the counties. So
Got the kinks and the shoots and then come.
yes, that's the plan. And hopefully we will see it this late summer, early fall. That's our hope, but we're not counting on it. With the other software that we are testing and moving forward with is Arc Pro. We've been testing for a solid year, if not longer. We've been working with Dean Anderson in writing the tools and in development phase to make sure that our cartographers can use it. It's to assist the cartographers in mapping, and they're heavy into the testing, and we're hoping to use it this next tax year in 2023, 2024, if all goes well. That's our projected go live. One of my biggest goals since becoming assessor was to take our records to a digital level. It's been my goal, and I've been the assessor for 4 years now. So I feel like I'm in my 5th year, and now just reaching the place where we can move forward. I've received a quote from a company called CoFile. They were a first choice for me because they've done some work for the county before with Ballinger, and they've integrated with Helion before. However, I was a little surprised at how high their quote was, and have decided that the best route moving forward would be to hire a temporary employee. Of course, I'm still in the thinking and planning stages. This is all subject to change, but I'm just wanting to let you know kind of in advance what I'm thinking along those lines. I gave you some numbers here on what the quote was, and then what I thought a temporary employee would cost us and what the savings was. So I think it's definitely more cost effective for us to keep it in-house and give somebody local a job, even if it's a temporary one. And then we have a little bit more control over the records and have access to them. One of the benefits of using CoFile was their completion timeline. They were really fast, like 3 months, and we would have it back. However, we'd have to send everything to them, and we wouldn't have anything here in the office. We're doing it ourselves. We get to keep all the records. We are going to touch them all anyways, because prior to sending it to CoFile, we would be opening each packet and pulling staples and tape and getting them ready to scan. So I figured we're touching them already, why not do the scanning ourselves and have a little bit more control? So that's my plan, unless something changes. I'm hoping to put that in the budget for next year to have to be able to hire a temporary employee to get that started. Any questions on that?
Probably a tough decision to make, but probably the right one.
Yeah, the numbers just don't pencil out. I wanted to give you a little bit of a legislative update on what's happening in the assessor world. Our liaison gave us an update this last week, and there's 123 bills on his list that he's watching. And these are the ones that they found the most interesting or that they're actively watching. The first one relates to BOPTA, and this has been in the works for a while. They're renaming it from BOPTA to Property Value Appeals Board. And that's due to some confusion on what BOPTA actually stands for or what you can actually appeal. And they're hoping to get clarity with changing the name. They're also looking at changing member terms from 1 year to 2 years in a different House bill. There's 3 exemptions that are sunsetting. And so there's bills in line to extend those sunsets. One is an exemption for surviving spouses of certain public safety officers. Another is an exemption of food processing, machinery and equipment. And the third one extends the sunset of the enterprise zone. Then there's House Bill 2086 that allows the correction of MAV to new property due to errors for the current year and up to preceding 5 years. Senate Bill 1012 only affects those counties that suffered in the 2020 wildfires. House Bill 2033 clarifies a method of collecting unpaid charges against real property when recorded without a certificate. So just a little background on that. When properties sell to a non-assessable entity like a city, for example, they are required prior to recording to request a certificate of charges paid from the assessor. And what that states is all taxes have been paid prior to it going, the document being recorded to make it non-assessable. There have been a few cases over the years where these certificates weren't requested and the deeds got recorded without them. So there's some back taxes sitting out there because we have no mechanism to collect. And this House bill clarifies a method to be able to collect those unpaid charges. Then finally, Senate Bill 919, I just found this one interesting. It provides a 5-year property tax exception for newly constructed AUDs or newly converted duplex, triplex, or quadplex that is used as an occupant's primary residence.
What's an AD?
Accessory dwelling unit.
So ADU.
ADU, yeah, typo, sorry. Yes, accessory dwelling unit. And the notes that I have don't really spell out how that is going to be done. So it's what I'm interested in to see what happens. Any questions?
I believe the Senate Bill 919 does not allow for vacation ADUs. That your understanding?
I am not entirely sure. I haven't read the whole thing.
Pretty sure.
Okay.
That was a question I get.
Yeah, well, they do say it has to be an occupant's primary residence.
I think that's right.
Moving on to a market update. I can look at things multiple different ways, and this is a snapshot of residential new construction average sales price year-over-year comparison. So as you can see from 21 to 22, there was a 19% increase in market value on, again, this is residential new construction average sales prices. Year to date, we've actually dropped 3%. Currently pending, it's 4% less, but what's active is a 6% increase. So things have stabilized in the new construction market. it appears. Then all residential average sale prices in Polk County from 21 to, let's see, from 20 to 21, there was a 22% increase. And then 21 to 22, this is a 10% increase. And year to date, when I pulled this, it was down 5% in market value.
Was that value of the homes or value of the homes that sold?
This is all a residential average sales price. I did provide a graph. I'm not sure if that's in your packet. It's just a simple interest rate graph that shows what interest rates have been doing. Did you get that? Yeah, so you can see from 21 to 2023, the incredible rate of growth just in interest rates. So from less than 3% to almost 7%. That has a huge impact on the market.
I think if that affects, and this is kind of outside your scope. First time home buyers getting into the homeownership.
I think the cost of an entry level home is pushing a lot of home buyers out of buying a home. They're stuck in the rental market. You can't find a livable house under 300,000. You have to go above 300,000 to have something livable. And a lot of people that are, families, especially if there's only one income, that makes it really difficult for them to buy. They can't afford a $300,000+ home plus a 6.5% interest rate.
And we're saying rental prices going up. It's been well
Yes,
priced out of that even.
yes.
A lot of options.
So what are we doing now? In the office, we've just passed a couple of deadlines. March 15th was a deadline for business personal property and RPRs, which are real property returns for industrial properties. April 1st was a deadline for veterans and exemption applications and renewals. April 15th was the deadline for senior deferral and non-EFU farm questionnaires. That's a busy time in our front office, taking in applications, answering questions, and then processing all of those. I just wrapped up the annual farm rent study. Interestingly enough, we are one of the only counties that still do a farm rent study, which is kind of surprising to me, but we have great farmers that respond, and I send all of the participating farmers the results of the study, and they all really appreciate receiving that. I get feedback quite frequently on requests for the information because they know we provide it. So I'm in the process of training Sarah to do the farm rent study. So again, handing off one of my duties to the chief appraiser, which is monumental. This current week, the appraisers are in school. Osaka puts on appraisal school once a year, and this is the week that they're in school. And I'm taking a class tomorrow, which is why I couldn't. I had to switch my meeting from tomorrow to today. We're heavy into cartography training with Amy, and then starting Monday with a new hire. The appraisers have just finished picking up all the new construction in the county, and they're working on sale reviews. This is a process that we do in preparation for our ratio study, which is due July 1st. And then the summer months, the appraisers will be in the field doing a reappraisal. And then finally, we're looking to do a little bit of reorg in the front office, moving some desks around in the next month to utilize our space a little bit better. So if you come up in our offices, you might see things a little bit different up there. So that's all I had. Do you have any questions for me?
Sounds like things are going well and stable.
Yes.
Oh, fully staffed, you have very little turnover. So, excellent.
Right. But I would say in the last 5 years, we've had a 50% turnover rate.
Retirements.
Retirements and just transitions of, leadership created some turnover. But everybody that's in the office is doing a great job and they all get along. We have no conflict. Everybody enjoys coming to work. They all work really hard and they're all doing a great job. I couldn't be more pleased with the staff we have. They really do a good job for Polk County.
Thank you, Val, so much for your work and your leadership and keeping us updated. I always keep your assessor reports handy for reference, so I appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay, any non-listed items? Staff would like to present. Folks, did you have something you wanted to discuss with the board?
Actually, I don't. Thank you for asking.
Okay.
My name is Daniel. PD. I realize that you guys are very, very important and I've never shown up. So I tell my children that they need you to teach. To show. Up.
I appreciate it.
So I have no other agenda than to come in and say hi and kind of listen to how, kind of catch the flavor. My daughter Alana and my son Alex. In a previous life, I spent a lot of time in.
All right,
Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
of course, and if you ever have any questions or need to contact us, meetings are great, but you can also contact us outside of meetings as well. Yeah, yeah. All right, with that, we're adjourned at 9:32.